This week in comic books, DC gives us terror in time. And man, what's more frightening than three wine Karens in Hawaii complaining about the environment and loving the kitties? Nothing much. Over in the land of Marvel, we get visions. And boy, do I have some visions about visions. Visions. We'll talk about it. And also my pick of the week from Indies this week, Approach. Oh, that's some good stuff. So let's talk about coffee real quick, and then jump into this week's haul and review. Check it out. Hey weirdos, do you ever find it hard to get going in the morning? Do you need a swift kick in the butt to get your day started? I find a good cup of coffee helps me supercharge my evil genius ways and motivates my ability. Coffee Brand Coffee is the perfect start to my dastardly day. They offer multiple roast and flavors, teas and cocos, while you sit by the fire and watch all your enemies burn. Go to Coffee Brand Coffee today and use promo code POCANJOE and save 10%. Coffee Brand Coffee. No gimmicks, just coffee. All right, you bunch of weirdos, let's jump into this week's comic books and let's talk about what we got. First off, the only thing I picked up in DC this week was this DC's Terrors Through Time. It's an 80-page special, and like most of them, there's several stories packed in here.
Yes, it is.
My favorite one was right off the jump, talking about Phantom Stranger. I believe it's a character that just doesn't get utilized enough in a horror genre type of way, and it was really cool to see him in here, so you, the reader, can find out, one, not forget him, right? Because you need to use the things you own, intellectual property, otherwise it goes into the waste bin. But it was really cool because it really talked about how he's not just a superhero, he's just this kind of tortured soul that has to muck through all of this. And of course, you get a lot of your standard horror time, Halloween type characters in here. The story that I just read it and was like, oh, this is so bad. Was the Harley Quinn, Catwoman, and Poison Ivy story in here. Basically, it was just a rodent problem, rodents being cats in this case. I can relate to that. And it just seemed kind of like, for a very simple solution, it seemed very convoluted. Like it just didn't mesh up very well for me.
It's a good call.
And of course, you get Dead Man and Space Sci-Fi one with a bunch of horrifying monsters warping through space. A lot of good stories in here. So for the most part, I did enjoy this. But again, 8 stories. I was kind of DC'd out at that point. So this was all I needed this week. Next, going right into Marvel, picked up Visions. If you haven't picked up Visions, this is cool because it doesn't really read like a Star Wars story. It reads more like a Ronin samurai type story.
Really?
That just has hints of Star Wars in it. And it was actually kind of cool. I really liked it. They're going with some very basic themes and that whole Ronin type, the lone samurai out there doing his thing. We got a Jedi Master who's blind, and we have a Sith Lord who's just kind of walking his own path, right? And then we get into the Eastern philosophy side of Star Wars and how that relates. Love the droids in this, especially this kind of R2-D2 / battle droid thing they had going on in here. It was pretty fun. So as serious as it wanted to be, and the artwork definitely explained that in here. Like I just absolutely loved this kind of grayscale with hints of color everywhere. It was really cool. It looked very manga to me at that point. But the story's awesome. I'm really liking where this is going to be launching off. Definitely will be picking up some more of this. And I'm not like a huge Star Wars fan.
Seriously?
Like I like the movies. I like the mythos behind it. But reading a Star Wars comic book, it's just, yeah, we get it. Scientific woo-woo at the end of the day. But this, I think, adds another level to it. And almost made my pick of the week. Almost made the pick of the week. Like if this other book didn't exist, that would have been there. Next, Ghost Rider. So we're continuing on. Finally, our Talia character, our little witchy woman, goth girl, finally meets up with Johnny Blaze. And of course, they're going to team up because Blackheart is down to some dirtiness up in the hills of Utah. I bet you there's a lot of bad things that happen in the hills of Utah. I don't know why. Utah's just one of those places you don't talk about a whole lot. But The hills have eyes, right? Did that take place in Utah? Seems like it should have, right? But anyway, back to the story. Um, so they're going to meet up and they're going to go, right? So this was the great meetup, the final coming together. She's a snarky goth girl with a bunch of funny little quibs and things to say.
Did you and your mom come up with that on your own?
And Johnny Blaze is Johnny Blaze at this point. But she got to look into his soul or do her little witchcraft woo-woo thing while sitting on top of him and in a non-sexual way. And find out all about him, right? So we don't have to do a long explanation. That I can appreciate that as somebody who's been following this series from 1 up to now, that I don't have to recap everything. Just quick artwork, quick explanation. Okay, he's not the bad guy. We need to team up. Now, time to go fight the villainy of Blackheart, who always had a problem with Johnny Blaze when he was, kind of in charge of hell, and he wanted to be in charge of hell. What is the fascination with being in charge of hell? That was a punishment. I don't know, but I do enjoy this series, and we want to follow it down some more. So definitely more reviews coming in on that. Next, so your boy made a mistake.
Is that right?
So I'm kind of in a rush. I'm going through these books as quickly as I could. I was already late getting to the comic book store, so a lot of good stuff was already picked up. And I picked up this Star Hinge thing, right? Boom! And you see right there where it says Book 1. And I'm like, oh, it's issue number 1. Not thinking. Grabbed it, brought it home, read it, and then I was like, this doesn't read like an issue 1. And that's because it's an issue 4. But this is a very sci-fi slash Arthenian tale. I got that. I can't give this book enough kudos because I didn't read it, up to this point, so I'm still lost on some points. Again, no fault of the book whatsoever. It is engaging. The art's beautiful in it. It's very Arthenian, and if you're a watcher of this channel, I love, King Arthur, the before stories, the after stories, and that whole genre of writing. And this kind of relates around that, like the cat before King Arthur, right? That cat that was in charge. It even references in the dialogue to that. And what I've gathered so far, that the two heroes in here, this was more of an informational dump on it, of what's going on and why they're in this particular time frame. And our two characters are actually from our time that traveled back there and have some magical powers of some sort. Again, I can't tell you how that worked because it literally launched off with them fighting this bad guy. And I'm like, oh, they're doing the thing where you meet the bad guy first and then they tell how they got there. And then about halfway through the book, I'm like, something's not jiving. Looked back at the cover and I was like, it's because I'm not looking at my covers correctly. I'm making snap judgments. So all in all, this was good. I love this artwork in here. It's really cool. Like when they wanted to make something creepy, it was creepy. When they were describing if something was pretty and beautiful or sexy, boom, they made sure to highlight that. I really liked that. The narrative can be said it's a little long, but then you get pages like this where it's just the artwork telling the story. So this is a great mashup of my two favorite things. Letting the art tell the story and having things pulled from the past and add a little twist to it. I think I might try to chase down issues 1 through 3 because I'm definitely interested in this story. So I'll be following that up. If you've read this, issues 1 through 3, or read any of this, definitely let me know down in the comments below if this is something I should chase after, given the review of this book, of course. If that's something y'all would be interested in, I'd be happy to do a separate video for it. Next, unfortunately, my dumpster fire for the week. Scarlet Sisters. This is a little bit of a mess. The artwork in it seems rushed to me, although I'm not an artist, so I can't really judge artwork. But like I'm looking at it, and it's just like the characters never look the same going from page to page, and I'm sure that can't be easy. The twist in it with the police chief being the leader of the occult was kind of predictable. But what bothers me most about this book is the absolute hypocrisy of the story.
You should let it go.
So the Scarlet Sisters are going after a cabal, a cult, if you will. And because they're gaining too much power, their hands are going into the hands of politicians and supporting, all these secret things in the background. But then at the end of the story, the congresswoman that they liked, right, has enlisted them to kind of be her secret thing out there happening. In other words, the bad thing was made the good thing because just the right people are doing it, I guess. It's like, I'm not really sure what your message was in this. The councilwoman in this was very staunch on, not funding police any more than what they are, and this guy would be happy if they had rocket launchers and everything else. And then literally has a recruitment of superhero people to do whatever she wants with now. I don't know. It's a little bit of, I would say that that's kind of hypocritical. Now, you can say context, context matters. Well, people are people, would be my argument back to you. How do we know the Cabal was going to do something bad, right? That you never established the Cabal and why they're villains in this to begin with. They're just a group of guys that you didn't like. So, yeah, I'm calling hypocrisy on this one.
You're not like a people person.
And the dialogue in it is just kind of, I don't know, it doesn't fit. What was one line? He was a good police. That was an actual line from this book, and I was like, that sounds odd. Like, is that grammatically correct? And I'm not one to beat up. Like, I get colloquialisms and things like that, but I don't even think that's that. I'm not sure if this thing went through an editor, like an editor's listed on it, but I'm not sure if this person actually went through it. The story's confusing. It's muddled. You get the characters mixed up because they're constantly, like, literally changing hair colors and stuff through it. It's just a mess. I didn't much enjoy it, but I'm not going to beat up on it. It is what it is. Somebody gave their best effort and moved forward with it, and for that I compliment you. But yeah, I'm not digging that story. However, my pick of the week, The Approach. I enjoyed this, and it's so weird why I enjoy it because, well, picture if you will. I'm gonna try not to give too many stories. Not that you got a lot in the first issue, so there's not really a spoiler in this. But to continue, remote airport, way out in the middle of nowhere. Heavy storm comes crashing in, right? We're building suspense. Plane has to make an emergency landing there. They get the passengers off. Power starts going out. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a small, propeller type plane comes in and crashes in the run field, in the airfield. Run field. What's a run field? Why would I say that? It's weird. Anyway, it crashes. They get one of the bodies out, right? It's obviously dead. The other one burns up, right? Then the suspense starts, right? Because we find out that this plane went missing 20 years ago. So we're automatically playing with time at this point, which made it interesting. And then the body turns into a monster. So is it aliens? What is it? What is making this happen? If you remember the movie The Mist, where everyone was kind of locked up in the grocery store, that's the vibe that I'm getting from this. Like, with the snowstorm, something's out there. You're trying to help a bunch of people because the power went out. It's going to start getting cold, right? Because there's a snowstorm. So, like, you have the immediate, need to be fixed, need to help, and then all of a sudden you throw a monster in there. And then a bunch of mysticism, not knowing what's going on. Great read, really kept you engaged and suspenseful. If my comic book store has more of this, I'll demand it. Like, that's how good this was. It was so good. Really enjoyed it. So, unfortunately, that's my haul this week. As I said, I got to the comic book store late, and I've just been bogged down with work and stuff, so we'll keep this one short. Just want to thank you for coming by. Don't forget, October the 21st through the 23rd, a bunch of YouTubers are going to be getting together here in our little comic book community, and we're going to do the Comics Curing Cancer. I know on the 21st I'll be making something over in the Evil Layer, over at Rob's Fat Stacks channel. From there, the schedule will progressively start coming out for everybody. Loads of auctions, original artists, bunch of talented people, bunch of generous people, and of course, consider this your invitation, right? Just come on. If nothing else, support. If you can donate something, I know it's trying times right now, but if you can give $1 or $2 just to help us fight cancer, that would be great. We'd greatly appreciate that. I always say I'm a villain. That doesn't make me a bad guy, right? Cancer is it's horrible, right? We need to squash that. That needs to go away. I think we can all agree on that. All right, guys. I got nothing else. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.